Thank you for coming out tonight. That first piece that we heard was arranged by Gil in 1946 for the Claude Thornhill Orchestra. It was an arrangement of Granados' Spanish Dance No. 5. And for those of you, since we're the classical music at the beginning, for those of you that were listening very closely and know a lot of classical music, you probably heard he actually intertwined that arrangement, the Granados piece, with Ravel's left-hand piano concerto, which is really beautiful, all the stuff in the brass, and that's all Ravel, it's really amazing. I forgot what we're doing. So the next, this is not off to a good start if I've already forgotten the second tune. The next tune we're going to do was written also for the Thornhill Orchestra in 1947. This piece is very remarkable in the fact that it was written in 1947, but it went unrecorded until 2012 when my band recorded it. And on our first record that we did in New York City called Centennial, it was in honor of Gil's 100th birthday, which would have been 2012. And it actually won Gil a Grammy for best, his first Grammy as an arranger for best instrumental arrangement. And this piece I discovered because of my teacher, Mr. Bob Brookmeyer, trombonist and composer himself, played for 2 weeks with the Thornhill Band in 1950, and this is one of his favorite pieces, and he was the one that told me about it before he got fired 2 weeks later. So anyway, so this is How About You? On clarinet. De Reyes? I'm trying. The next piece that we're going to do for you, we're going to jump a little bit ahead. So that this is now from an album that Gil wrote in 1959 called Great Jazz Standards. He did 2 records for the label World Pacific Records in 1958 and 1959. 1958, the first one was New Bottle Old Wine, which we'll do some of those pieces later, to feature the up-and-coming, at the time, saxophonist Cannonball Adderley. This record, which followed Great Jazz Standards, this is a beautiful piece that he wrote for the trumpeter Johnny Coles. How many people have heard of Johnny Coles? Anyone? He's beautiful. You should really check him out. A beautiful sound. He was in Gil's bands a lot. Beautiful player. This is going to feature Berger Embrechts on trumpet. And this is, I'm doing my best. I could do it very American. Berger Embrechts. I can't even do that one very American. Anyway, this is Davenport's Blues. Davenport Blues. Sung Kim on piano. So this next piece that we're going to do is one of the newest ones that I've discovered in my, sadly going near almost 10 years of doing research on this project, but I was planning our second record, which we did a live recording at our club in New York City, and I went back to the archives where the Thornhill music was stored in a small liberal arts college in Missouri, and I came across this piece which I hadn't seen before, and I've never even heard of the tune. It's an old, very old standard from, let's see, Gil did this in 1946, but as you may know, back then, if somebody had a hit on the radio with a song, then all the bands had to have a version of that song so that when they would play dances at colleges and things like that. So I'm sure that this was one of those reasons, but what I love about this arrangement is that Gil starts it very traditional, so the voicings and the harmony and everything sounds very traditional music, dance music from the 40s. And then by the time we get to the end of the piece, which is only 4 or 5 minutes, we're at kind of the quirky, modern music that Gil was writing during that time. And it features a bunch of people in the band. So this is, I'm sure, everyone's favorite tune, I'm sure you dance to it at your weddings, called Avalon Town. Gugos. Hendrik Sugen on alto. Peter Delanois. And Roland Salis. That was the toughest one. Moving right along. This next piece that we're going to do is one of my favorites of Gil's. It's a beautiful ballad. It's from his record that we just did Davenport from called Great Jazz Standards. It's going to feature Peter on trombone, and I'd like to dedicate it. I know that we all woke up this morning to the very sad news that David Bowie passed away. I was very, very fortunate to work with David about a year and a half ago, about the time that he was diagnosed with cancer, even though I didn't know that at the time. And he was an unbelievably lovely person, so much so that I think that was one of the things that I took away from the whole thing, is that he's the biggest pop star that I can imagine, and so inventive and very inspiring to musicians. And he was very funny and very down to earth. He knew everyone in the band's name. It was a big band session. And he was just a very lovely person. So very sad news this morning. So I'd like to dedicate this to David Bowie. was actually, he told me he was a big fan of Gil's music, and when we were doing the session, he actually referenced a recording of Gil's as a sound that he was looking for, and yeah, he was a really, really brilliant man. So the next piece that we're going to do, is from the 1958 record that featured Cannonball Adderley, and that it was called New Bottle, Old Wine. And this piece that we're going to do was written by Louis Armstrong's wife, Little Harlan Armstrong. Can't even speak English very well. And this is called Strutting with Some Barbecue. Lamont again on trombone. And Eric Bogans on alto. One of the things I love about that arrangement is how he builds the soloist from the beginning. He starts in the low register with the tuba, and then he has trombone in the middle, and then he has the band kind of do a section, and then he brings in the alto. So the soloist kind of build this stair step upwards, and then when he brings the alto in, he modulates. It's really great. The next, we're actually going to do the next two pieces together as a suite, and I came up with this idea. I've never done it before. I came up with the idea in my shower this morning. Before I came to a sound check today. So we're going to see how this works. Huh? Yes, I did. Thank you. I did tell you, right? Yeah, okay. They know. Most of them know. So the first piece that we're going to do is, how many of you are familiar with Gil's record, Miles Ahead, that he did with Miles Davis? Ooh. Okay, some people that choose not to acknowledge themselves. There's a piece on there that he did called Blues for Pablo. It's an original composition of his, which is actually, it is an original composition of his, but he based it on Manuel de Falla's Three-Cornered Hat, a theme from that, and also an old Mexican folk song that translates to the Blue Dove with La Azul, La Paloma Azul, I think. And so, anyway, but that's called Blues for Pablo. When I was going through all of Gil's manuscripts, I came across the version of it that he did for a concert. It was a one-week concert at the Apollo Theater, which is only about 10 blocks up from my house in New York City. He did it opposite Thelonious Monk's quartet and Dinah Washington's trio. And for a week they performed this, and he reorchestrated a bunch of older music and other tunes to fit this instrumentation, changed a few things around, performed it just that once at the Apollo and then never again. So, and we still haven't recorded it, so this is fun to be able to come out and play an unrecorded piece. So this is an arrangement from 1959 of Blues for Pablo, which we will go right into, if all goes well, into an arrangement that he did for Cannonball Adderley of the great tune Manteca. So here's Blues for Pablo and Manteca. Julian Avalon. And Eric Bogart's an alto. Say it for me. This is the one that is giving me the say it. How do you say your first name? Today? Today? It's a Dutch thing. I can't do that. Yeah. My good old Americans, my American students. Anyway, before we do the last tune for you, I'd just like to thank Else and everyone that was involved in bringing me here, and for all the musicians. They make, usually, okay, I'll be honest, when I go out, I do this a lot, I go out to different schools or work with bands and stuff, and it's always kind of a challenge, because you take a 7-hour flight, and you show up and you have no idea what you're getting yourself into. They could be really amazing, or they could just be really horrible, and then you've got like 2 days to put a concert together and just get to start to finish, and I've had that, it's really horrible. But this was so easy. We got done early with rehearsals, and they grasped Gil's sound very easily, and it was just a thrill to come here and work. So let's quick thank the band. Yeah, the music is very hard, as you can probably tell, and they're making it look very easy. So the last piece that we're going to do is going back to the Thornhill era, and Gil was one of the first people to introduce the bebop language into swing bands. And that's actually how he met Miles Davis, which then later turned into their collaboration, Sketches of Spain, and things like that. So he actually went to Miles and asked permission to do an arrangement of one of his tunes. And he did the same thing with 3 other bebop tunes for the Thornhill Orchestra. He did Anthropology, he did Donna Lee, and then he did what we're going to do, the Charlie Parker tune, Yardbird Suite. So, thank you very much. Okay, so we'll do one more for you. This is another, I say this, and anyone that else has seen my concerts in New York or whatever, I say this for every ballad we do because they're always my favorite. But this was actually one of the first pieces that I got of Gil's when I was researching, and so it means a lot to me. It's a beautiful arrangement that he did for the Thornhill Orchestra in 1947 of Polka Dots and Moonbeams. Thank you very much. Thank you.